Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
We are talking about the paradox of self. This is part of the teaching that we are using from the book A Path with Heart by Jack Kornfield, and we've been using in our series, but I've really been looking forward to this. This is the difference between selflessness, which is an aspiration of the spiritual path, and identifying and feeling the connection with the authentic self, our true self, some people think of as the small self, the letting go of the small self or the little self or the ego self, and identifying with spirit or the authentic self, the capital S self, the higher self, the perfect self, the part of us that was created in the image and likeness of God. It's a way to think of it. But it is, in a sense, individualized and yet also, a part of all that is. It's that part of us that is connected to the divine, that is expressing the divine. And how is it that we can move and let go of the self, the small self, to move into an identity with that? And yet we need the ego in the real world. And I heard Reverend Michael preaching on this recently, where it's not to let go of our ego self. We need our ego. We need it. It's healthy, though. We need it in balance. And there's the rub. The Buddha describes the attachment to the small self. When the small self is separate, we think of ourselves as individual and limited and identified, and I'm here and you're over there and you're over there, and all the people that are coming through live stream right now, they're somewhere else and they're very far away, and they're in their own zone and in their own world, and I can't see them and I can't touch them, but I don't have the ability to sense them. And yet there is a part of me that can do that. But if I'm only in touch with the small self, if I'm only in touch with my ego self, with all the stories in my head, with all the thoughts and feelings that Karen is producing, well, then I'm living in my own world, and that's my small self. That is the small world. And believe me, my ego is very good at keeping me busy with only that. There's plenty of fodder up there in my head for all of that. So the Buddha describes the attachment to the small self being separate, the idea of being separate, as the seat of all suffering. That is the idea that when we only identify as an individual, as a separate being, and all the world is out there, and I feel very alone and very cut off, and I have to constantly try to reach out, I have to constantly try to draw in whatever it is I need, then I'm always grasping, and I'm always afraid, and I'm always reaching for something to fulfill me, because I only know what I don't have. I'm only living in lack. I'm only living in small. I'm only living alone and out of touch. And that is the seat of all suffering, is this whole idea that we are separate. Why? Because, first of all, it isn't the truth of us. That's a large part of it right there. We weren't created to suffer. It is where we go with what we know that separates us and what we've been taught about ourselves, or not taught about ourselves, the big part of us, the truth part of us. But this isn't the truth of us. And so all belief that causes suffering is because it isn't true. Now, isn't that good news? It isn't even true. Oneness is the master truth. If you don't learn anything else tonight from me, I want you to walk away knowing that oneness, the oneness of all life, the oneness of all that is, the connection that I have, that you have, that we all have to all that is, God, and everything that is like God, and everything we think it is, and everything that isn't like God, and everything that is true, and everything that is a part of the living truth of life, everything that is connected. And everything that is true because we are one with it. Every truth principle you will ever hear that has truth is a corollary of the truth of being one with all. Everything is a reflection, everything is a mirror, everything is a corollary to that. Everything is true because we are one. You don't have to believe it to make it so, to make it real. You just have to remember it so you can use it. You just have to remember it so you can fall back into it. You just have to remember it so you can begin to feel it again, so you can enter it in awareness. I am one with everything, even though I don't feel that way right now. The truth is, I am one. The truth is, everything I need is already here. The truth is, I am enough. The truth is, I am worthy. The truth is, I am already love. There is nothing to add to me. I'm already all that I can be, all that I'm meant to be, all that I am. Everything I seem not to have is on its way to me because I am evolving and becoming, because I live in a body that is temporal. That awareness then becomes the liberation, becomes the freedom, becomes the joy. And the fact is that this oneness is already operational in you even before you remember it, even before you wake up to it again, even before you heard me say it tonight. It was already operating. Every time you touch innocence or joy or peace or silence or wisdom or truth, you have let go of your separateness for a moment. Every time. The longer you can stretch that out, the longer you can remember, the longer you can stay there, the longer you live in truth. You live in the oneness. There is, in fact, no self that is a separate container. In other words, when I was giving you this idea that the small self and the big self, like there's a big self, it's a way of thinking of it. What it really is not a container at all, but an awareness, a window to all that is. And you simply wake up and you begin to see it. When we're in our small self and feeling unworthy and not enough and lacking and sad or mad or left out or hurt or wounded or depressed or grief or sad, whatever we're doing that is taking us for a while out of the joy and the peace and the life and the love. When we're here, this is the unreality. This is the small self. This is a collection of belief system. But as soon as we wake up, freedom, joy. Selfhood is our sticky identity manufactured by our ego that needs to be real. Our ego is what is struggling to be real, but it isn't real. It's just a temporal collection of belief systems and ideas and stuff we've accumulated. Some of it's good, some of it's useful. It helps us to navigate in the world, but it is not real, and it's transient, and it changes all the time, and it grows, and it becomes something else. But it's our vehicle, it's our way as humans to identify in this world and to work. But a healthy ego knows it doesn't have the truth. It only has the mechanics of knowing how to work in the world, but it doesn't have the purpose, and it doesn't have the master plan, so to speak. It's our awareness of all that is that infills this and gives purpose and gives direction and gives joy and brings peace into all of it, and wisdom. Cornfield says, any identity we can grasp is transient and tentative. However, the experience of selflessness, that's letting go of the small self, in practice can bring us to great freedom. Freedom is the hallmark. Joy is a hallmark. Peace is the hallmark of knowing that you have reached outside of the small construct of your ego, of your small self. What is real is the observation of a fluid reality that we experience as life, where we don't know what's going to happen next. Have you been feeling like that? You don't know what's going to happen next, right? We've spent at least a good year not knowing what's going to happen next. Even when we thought we did know, we got surprised, right? Real life is happening in real time. And the more wonder and the more we can let go, and the more we can just become aware and feel and touch and taste and experience what is actually happening, stay present, be honest, be authentic self, just be real with what's happening. The more that we can process it and move forward, take the good of it, we can benefit from it. The freer we feel, the more joy we can feel. Our feelings, we think we can control our feelings. We can't control our feelings. Can you conjure up your feeling? You might be able to do that by holding on to some thoughts that give you a certain kind of pleasure or a certain kind of feeling. Of joy, perhaps, or whatever. You might be able to do that for a short period of time, but most of the time, we are being run by conditions that we have feelings that react to life. We also have the illusion of control, and that illusion of control has more to do with inner suppression. Oh, that's not a good feeling. I shouldn't be feeling that right now, and I don't like to feel that feeling, so I'm going to feel this one. Right? I'm going to pick this one over that one. We think that we're controlling our feelings, but we're not. We're suppressing. We're putting it away. We're judging. And we're only allowing ourselves to be conscious and to be present to the feeling that we've chosen. We also think we can control the outward expression as we've matured in a culture that also judges whether that's a good feeling or an appropriate way to behave or not. We've learned to hide this feeling, and we don't express this, but we talk about that instead, right? Because that's how we've been enculturated. But that's not feeling. We know the danger of that. When we don't feel the feelings we have, we gotta pay the piper sometime. We're going to have to deal with those suppressed feelings. Our body follows its own laws. OMG. It certainly does that. It ages. It gets sick. It changes in ways we might wish it wouldn't. It moves according to its own nature. We don't control this either. So why don't we enjoy the ride? Why don't we instead become the portal of awareness? Why don't we instead let life happen and marvel at it like a child? Shakespeare wrote in The Tempest, "Be cheerful, sir, our revels now are ended. These are actors. As I foretold, you were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yes, all which it inherit, shall dissolve, and like the insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. All of this is made up. It's all thin air. It all comes, it all goes. Well, what is real? Real is this moment. Not was, not will be, now. This is what's real. Sri Nisargadatta says, the real world is beyond our thoughts and ideas. The real world is beyond what we can think and what ideas we have. We see it through the net of our desires, divided into pleasure and pain, right and wrong, inner and outer. To see the universe as it is, you must step beyond the rest, beyond the net of these ideas. It's not hard to do so, for the net is full of holes. And there you touch it, and there for a moment you felt joy, and there for a moment free, and there for another moment peace, and there for another moment love, and there for another moment wisdom. And you heard the beauty of deep silence. You fell through the net of your thinking. There is joy in selflessness. Cornfield says, discovering emptiness brings a lightness of heart, a flexibility and an ease that rests in all things. But on the other hand, the more solidly we grasp our identity, the more solid our problems become. You starting to see the connection? The more we think, the more we look, the more we try to identify our sticky identity. I'm a mom, I'm a minister, I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I'm a good person, I'm an artist, I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm a reader, I'm someone who can cook, I garden. You know, all these identities, all of these things we build a part of our ego. It's okay to do that, but it's important to realize it's not the truth of us. What selflessness is not is getting rid of our ego-centered self. It is, as I said, our point of navigation in the world. It is necessary for us to build a healthy ego, but it has to be in right relationship with the higher part of us that can see and infuse that with the wisdom to navigate in the world. The ego knows how to navigate in the world. That's what we need it for. But it's not meant to be in charge. It doesn't set the agenda. That's where we get into trouble. That's when we suffer. What selflessness is not is apathy or unworthiness or meaninglessness that we may have experienced before in our lives. That's not at all. Those feelings of being disengaged is another mysterious way for us to separate. It is only when we are engaged and open to all that is that we feel the vibrancy of life. Selflessness is not an excuse to withdraw from life because it is all an illusion. Have you heard somebody say that? You know, it's just an illusion. Life is an illusion. I don't get into the nitty-gritty of problem solving. I just go to knowing the truth and the truth sets me free. I just go to turning it over to God, and God takes care of it, and I just go about my business, and I don't worry about that, and I don't take care of the things that need to be taken care of. The absolute view that somehow it's all going to be handled at some other level, not concerning you. That's a way to spiritually bypass around life's problems. What we're meant to be is engaged in the issues that are within our power and the things that are ours to do. But we know that there's a part of us that can bring peace and understanding even to this. And yet I still see this, and yet I'm still with this. And I feel the uncomfortable feelings that accompany this problem. But I also remember that this is not who I am, and that because it has come, it shall pass. And in knowing that, I don't put it away. I engage it, and I'm not afraid of it, and I watch it unfold. And I'm delighted by it, and so grateful for the goodness in my life, and for the gift it brings, right? Thinking of ourself as bad or wrong is also not selflessness. Thinking of this small self as wrong or bad, as I've said repeatedly tonight, this is a necessary part of us. And that old idea of judgment of something bad or wrong is really an old religious idea that doesn't serve us any longer. Moving from this idea of the small self to the true self means to let go of identity with a small personal self, and this is part of our spiritual maturity. It's part of our spiritual development. The second part is establishing connection and identity with the true self. And how do you do that? This true self, this authentic self, it's not selfhood in itself, in a way. It's not a container at all. It is pure awareness in which we see, feel, experience life within. Like the experience we were drilling down to in the meditation tonight. What I was encouraging you to drop down, to keep answering this monotonous question and see what kinds of answers were percolating up, some awareness of yourself, something. And when you get to the place of not being able to name it, I think you're onto something. When it doesn't have a label, when it doesn't have a name anymore, there is something that is just pure awareness. Your true self, our eyes open. So I have an assignment for you. I'm going to encourage you to make a date with yourself tomorrow. I don't care what else you got going on tomorrow. Tomorrow, during the daylight hours. Or you can do this at the end of your prayer time or your meditation practice. But do this. Breathing fully and slowly, setting aside any of your to-dos or anything else. Set aside a start and a finish time so that nothing else can get in the middle, just whatever that is. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you've got. An hour, if you've got that. Whatever it is, but that, no phone, nothing to interfere, nothing to interrupt. No thoughts, no plans. Step outside. No matter what the weather's doing, no matter what, step outside. Stand there. Don't go anywhere. Just stand there. Look around like you did as a child. Feel it. Smell it. Take it in. Notice what draws your curiosity or your sense of wonder. What's going on? What's that over there? I didn't see that in my yard before. What is that? Perhaps it's a desire. A desire arises to smell a flower. A new bud. A new flower has bloomed. Or touch the bark on a tree. I haven't even been over in that corner for the longest time. Or a tender leaf. Or walk barefoot on the green grass. Perhaps you want to get a blanket and lay down and look up at the clouds in the sky, or watch the birds, where they go, how they fly around. Butterflies chasing around a tree trunk. Dragonflies buzzing around each other. Squirrels chasing up and down the trees. Maybe all those things. One thing after another thing after another. Using your innate and long-forgotten childish nature of wonder and curiosity. Feel the breeze on your face, moving the leaves and branches of the tree that you're watching. Clouds moving in the sky, forming patterns so slow. Fly up to the sky. Touch the clouds. Focus on these sensations and observations until you feel the lift of joy. Freedom. This is evidence of your authentic self. In that moment, you're touching the divine. You are living and aware through the portal of your true authentic self, the natural living moment of life, right here, right now. The observer in you is alive and present, watching, participating, experiencing. Now, I invite you to plan to make that practice a part of your prayer practice. Whatever time you give it will be sufficient for the moment that you feel freedom, or the moment you feel joy, or the moment you feel peace or contentment, the moment that you notice you stop thinking. You will have arrived. And so as a final note, in reconnecting with the joy, with the freedom, you're connecting with your authentic self, not your thoughts about your authentic self. Because it is in joy, in innocence, in freedom, our authentic virtues arise as well. Goodness, compassion, service, openness to difference, acceptance, gratitude. For these are the fruits of the spiritual life. The Persian Sufi poet Rumi says, "In times of sudden danger, most people call out, 'Oh my God!' Why would they keep doing this if it didn't help? Only a fool keeps going back where nothing happens. The whole world lives within a safeguarding, fish inside of waves, birds held in the sky, the elephant, the wolf, the lion as he hunts, the dragon, the ant, the waiting snake, even the ground, the air, the water, every spark that floats up from the fire. All subsist, exist, are held in the divine. Nothing is ever alone for even a moment. All giving comes from there. No matter who you think you put your hand out toward, it's that which gives. And so it is. Namaste.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.